The Wedding Day Special. The engines of Oakham Road were excited. 2 members of the Preservation Society, Ross Patterson and Chelsea Pt4, were getting married in a few days, and the new controller was organising a special. But the trouble was, the society were having trouble getting hold of a special coach for the happy couple to travel in. "I don't understand," said Jordan. "Why not just use an ordinary coach?" "It would suit the other guests, but not a married couple," said Leo. "A married couple need their space, especially when going on their honeymoon." Stepney piped up. "My old railway had special saloons," he said. "They were used for all sorts of occasions, like directors' inspections and honeymoons and that sort of thing." "That's as may be," said Leo. "But where can we find one?" The days went by, and not a special coach can be found anywhere. Not even a special saloon. Stepney and Bluebell's stay on the Oakham Road Railway would soon be coming to an end. Then one day, Bluebell arrived at the workstation with the first train, and went over to the works siding for a drink. As she rolled alongside the water column, she noticed something near the workshops. Under a tarpaulin, looking very old, very dusty, and very forlorn, but in perfect shape, was an old inspection saloon. Bluebell rolled up alongside. "Hello," she said. The coach blinked and looked at Bluebell. Hello," she answered. "What are you doing here?" Bluebell asked. The coach was surprised. "Somebody actually asked me that question," she said, absolutely amazed. "I was one of the first inspection saloons to be used in this island, but after a few years of work, I started to go forlorn. I was in urgent need of rebuilding, so they put me on this siding for repair. But nobody came, and that was years ago. Now, only the mice riding me." Bluebell met Stepney at Acorn Junction and told him all about the old saloon. "You know Bluebell?" Stepney smiled after a considerable amount of thought. "I think you've just given us the answer to their problem." "You don't mean—" she stared. "Yes, Bluebell, I do," said Stepney. "We can talk to the Fat Controller about this, and he can help us." When Stepney got to the workstation with his train, he met Edward and told him all about the old saloon. "I shall tell him as soon as I see him," he said. And sure enough, when Edward got to the big station, he saw the Fat Controller and told him all about it. "I will attend to the matter immediately," he said. Later on, the Fat Controller arrived on board the express and went over to the yard. Stepney and Bluebell were there. "Show me where this saloon is," he said. Bluebell's crew led him over to where the saloon was. The Fat Controller was surprised. "This one? I didn't know we still had this one." The Fat Controller turned to Bluebell's driver. "Get this coach into the workshop as soon as possible," he ordered. The engines were amazed. "Wow, that was quick," Stepney gasped. And in no time at all, the 2 engines were shuffling old coaches in front of the saloon, and Bluebell pulled her out of the siding and straight into the workshops. The Fat Controller turned to the 2 engines. "That saloon was my pride and joy in the early days," he explained. "And now, with a lot of hard work, she'll be perfect for the wedding day special." "Thank you so much, sir," the 2 engines smiled. Three days went by, until one morning the new controller was asked to come down to the workstation by the fat controller. When he arrived on Stepney and Bluebell's train, he was amazed by what he saw. "Oh my word!" he exclaimed. Standing on the carriage siding, the old saloon had been completely restored. She was gleaming all over and painted in brilliant white. "This is just the sort of saloon that we've been looking for." The fat controller turned to him. "And you have Stepney and Bluebell to thank for this," he smiled. "Excuse me, sir," Stepney asked, "but what's she going to be called?" The new controller smiled. "I think," he said at last, "I shall name her Jasmine." The coach smiled broadly. "Thank you, sir," she said. "Now, Stepney and Bluebell," the new controller announced, "since this is your last day on my line, I will give you the honour of pulling the wedding day special." "Oh, sir, thank you, sir." The two engines goggled with excitement. A few hours later, the wedding party arrived on the platform, waiting for the wedding day special to arrive. The engines were all standing on the opposite platform. "I've never seen a wedding special before," said Kirsty. "Not many of us have," said Chelsea. "I just feel so happy for the lovely couple." Just then the signal dropped, and from the upline came a pair of high-pitched whistles. "Here they come!" called Leo, and Stepney and Bluebell pulled into the station with Jasmine in tow, as well as their own Bluebell coaches. The bride was especially delighted when she saw Jasmine. "Oh, she's beautiful," she smiled, clinging onto her new husband. "I love you," she smiled sweetly. The groom thanked the new controller for the wedding day special. "Not at all, my friend," he smiled, and turned to Stepney and Bluebell. "And you two shall be taking them on their honeymoon." "We'd be glad to," Stepney smiled. The bride and groom climbed aboard Jasmine. The engines were sorry to see Stepney and Bluebell leave. "Come back and see us soon," they called out to the two engines. "And you are all welcome on our Bluebell Railway too," Stepney smiled. The guard's whistle blew, and the two engines pulled out of Oaken Road, to a chorus of cheers and whistles as Stepney and Bluebell set off for home. The pioneer of railway preservation, the Bluebell Railway.